Well, you saw the notes on the pastoral profile as they were strolling by, and if you want a copy of that, you certainly can see that. I'm not sure, ask John or Chris or somebody to get that in your hand. But I want to talk a little more about expository preaching, because that was a question on the survey. And I think it'd be helpful. There was a good definition there, but I just want to talk a little more about it. Expository preaching exposes the Scripture. It reveals the meaning of each text. Each verse is explained within the context. So that means rather than dealing with a topic, there's nothing wrong with preaching topical sermons. I've preached a lot of topical sermons since I've been here. But rather than dealing with a topic that may cover a group of verses from many different places in Scripture, the expository sermon draws the topic of the message to the main point of the passage in Scripture. So a passage or paragraph of the Bible is considered within its chapter and book. The Bible, of course, was written in books, and it comes to us through editing in chapters and verses and so on. The expository message is prepared through proper interpretation of Scripture in its normal sense and context. Sometimes, as I said, a topic may be considered, but even then, it needs to be considered in its context. And the Old Testament really has a helpful illustration in Nehemiah chapter 8 of expository preaching. So if you'd like to turn there, Nehemiah chapter 8, I'm going to be reading some verses from that passage. And I think, I didn't write it down in my notes, but I think I'm going to begin. Actually, I'll tell you just a second. Nehemiah chapter 8. Verse 8. Nehemiah 8. Actually, I want to start in verse 2. I think I want to skip down some. Then Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly of men, women, and all who could listen with understanding on the first day of the 7th month. Verse 3 tells us that he read from it before the square, and this was a regular thing. Verse 5, Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was standing above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up. Then Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, lifting up their hands. And they bowed their heads and worshipped the Lord with their faces to the ground. And then there were 13 priests, the Levites, who helped the people to understand the law, while the people remained in their places. And then this verse 8, they read from the book from the law of God clearly, and they gave the sense so that the people understood the reading. What's happening here is Ezra is reading a portion of the Bible, and the Levites are expounding to the people the portion that was just read. They explained to the people, that's the sense of what's going on. They explained to the people what it meant and how it applied. That's Bible exposition. And it's most accurately done when the verses and paragraphs and chapters are all studied in their context. Here's another definition from Brian Chappell, who was the former president of Covenant Seminary. The main idea of an expository sermon, the topic, the divisions of that idea, main points, the development of those divisions. Here's the nugget of truth. All come from truths the text itself contains. Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones, who's a longtime pastor of Westminster Chapel in London, offers this challenge on the importance of expository preaching. The primary task of the church and of the Christian minister is the preaching of the Word of God. The decadent periods and eras of the history of the church have always been those periods when preaching had declined. Last week we began a study in the New Testament epistle to Titus. This is a letter written by Paul in the second half of the first century to a young Greek pastor who was serving on the island of Crete. Titus had been given some specific tasks to complete, and one of those was to appoint elders in each city. The pastoral search team has been using the qualifications from this passage in their assessment of pastors. So I'm going to read from chapter 1 of Titus, verses 5 to 9. For this reason I left you in Crete, that you would set in order what remains and appoint elders in every city as I directed you. If any man is above reproach, the husband of one wife, having children who believe, not accused of dissipation or rebellion. For the overseer must be above reproach as God's steward, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not addicted to wine, not pugnacious, not fond of sordid gain, but hospitable, loving what is good, sensible, just, without self-control, holding fast the faithful word which is in accordance with the teaching, so that he will be able both to exhort in sound doctrine and refute those who contradict. We don't know the remaining things. He's supposed to set in order the remaining things. We don't know what they are. We can get some hints from the rest of this book as to how Titus was to conduct himself. But we do have specific teaching on appointing elders. He's supposed to, Paul gives him, in verse 5, this order, appoint elders in every city. So there's a plurality of elders in each city. That's clear from the text here. We don't use the term elder very often. But the Mormons use it. They call these 18 and 19-year-old boys going around doing their witnessing. They call them elders, but we don't use it that much. It's actually the Greek word presbyteros, which is Presbyterian. Of course, the Presbyterian church is everywhere. Paul appointed elders in churches as he journeyed around the Middle East and Europe. In fact, the first council in Acts chapter 15 was composed of the 12 apostles and elders. So what does that mean for us? Elder is not the only name for this leadership position. There's another title in verse 7. And the for in verse 7, for the overseer, because the overseer, that gives us a signal that we're still talking about the same subject as earlier. Overseer and elder are synonymous. Overseer is a literal translation of episkopos, which means overseer. Episkopos might sound familiar to you, because we have Episcopalians. We got their name for that term. The King James Version translates this word bishop. That's another term of church government. Methodists, Episcopalians, Catholics, and other denominations have bishops, meaning overseer. 1 Timothy chapter 3, he gives another list of qualifications for a church leader, nearly identical to this list. But it says, if a man aspires to the office of overseer, he desires a good thing. The overseer then must be, so again, we have this term overseer used to describe elder. Elder and overseer are different names, but they recognize aspects of the same church office. So again, where does that leave us? There's a third name for this leadership office. If you will, please turn to Acts 20. Acts chapter 20. Paul is on his way from Greece to Jerusalem. He makes a quick stop on the way there in what we now know as Turkey. That's where the town of Ephesus was. Verse 17, from Miletus he sent to Ephesus, and he called to himself the elders of the church. So he calls elders to visit with them as he goes to Jerusalem. But if you look down at 28, you pick up on the instruction that he gave these elders. Be on guard for yourselves and for all the flock, among which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, to shepherd the church of God which he purchased with his own blood. He calls the elders overseers, we saw both of those terms in Titus, and reminds them to be on guard for the flock. What do we call the leader of the flock? We call it shepherd. And the English word pastor comes from the Latin word pastor, which means shepherd. So in these verses, we have three names for one office: elder, overseer, and pastor. It's not the only place these terms are used together. If you will, we would like you to turn to chapter 5 of 1 Peter. This is another reference to the qualifications of pastor that are listed on the pastoral profile. 1 Peter 5:1. Therefore, I exhort the elders among you as your fellow elder and witness of the sufferings of Christ, and a partaker also of the glory that is to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God among you, exercising oversight, that's our word, overseer, not under compulsion but voluntarily, according to the will of God, and not for sordid gain but with eagerness. So Peter here is addressing elders, shepherds, overseers, three titles for the same office. Elder implies the need for maturity in a pastor. Overseer implies the need for watchfulness. Pastor implies the necessity for a church leader to be a shepherd who feeds and leads his flock toward the great shepherd. Toward the qualifications of a pastor, that's what we find in Titus chapter 1, verse 23, here in 1 Peter. But we noticed, as I was reading those verses in Titus, that the qualifications are life qualities. Not so much gifts and abilities are listed there, but lifestyle and the standards of living. A commentator named David Guzik says this: going to seminary doesn't make one qualified for spiritual leadership. Being a good talker doesn't make one qualified for spiritual leadership. Natural or spiritual gifts in themselves do not qualify one for spiritual leadership. What one gives in money or volunteer time does not qualify them for spiritual leadership. What qualifies a man for spiritual leadership is godly character, and godly character established according to the clear criteria that Paul will list. God wants all his followers to be more interested in spiritual things than physical things. The gospel changes us on the inside and works itself out into our lives. We're new creations. Our old simple patterns pass away. We keep doing new godly things. The first priority then for a pastor is his manner of life. And these qualifications in Titus are not named for perfection. We know that no one can live up to this standard. Rather, the man considered, as Titus explains, must show a desire for these qualities, an obvious choice to live this way. Let me read that list again in Titus 1, starting in verse 6, and we'll go through them individually. Any man's above reproach, the husband of one wife, having children who believe, not accused of dissipation or rebellion. For the overseer must be above reproach as God's steward, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not addicted to wine, not pugnacious, not fond of sordid gain, but hospitable, loving what is good, sensible, just, devout, self-controlled. Those are on the handout, and I listed the NIV word as well as the New American Standard word. First of all, I have above reproach. This is a public attribute. This is something that everyone sees. No one would suspect this man to be guilty of any impropriety. In fact, we would be surprised by that. That's the standard that this man has set. It's a recognition that over time he's gained a reputation of godliness. He's presented no cause for blame. Next it says, let the elder be a husband of one wife. Literally that says a one-woman man. I think that's significant. I'll try to explain why. It's another public quality. If it's the husband of one wife, if that's the requirement, if the requirement is that the pastor be married, a remarried widower would not be qualified to be a pastor, despite perhaps many years of prior faithful ministry. Paul did not have a wife. He would not be eligible to be an elder if it has to do with marital status. So the other way to take this is that this is a one-woman man. That's very rugged, but it offers us, I think, the best understanding of what this phrase means. It's the translation of three Greek words, one, woman, man. It speaks to the loyalty of a leader. It's not flirtatious. He is morally pure. If married, it is obvious that there's no woman more important and precious to him than his own wife. And recent church history has shown us and continues to show us that moral purity, impurity has been the fall of many pastors, in fact most pastors who fall. So it's important that very early in the system of qualifications, Paul writes this quality. If not married, the pastor would live a life demonstrating that he'd be a devoted husband. As further evidence that this is the proper way to understand the phrase, we have the same idea applied to widows in 1 Timothy 5. If I come back a couple of pages, 1 Timothy 5. This church is the church, not just this, but the church has a call to minister to widows. And Paul describes that in this chapter. He prescribes that a list be written with the names of qualified widows on the list. Verse 9, the widow is to be put on the list only if she's not less than 60 years old, having been the wife of one man, having a reputation for good works, and if she's brought up children, if she has shown hospitality to strangers, if she has washed the saints' feet, if she has assisted those in distress, if she has devoted herself to every good work. That's qualifications. Putting this widow on the list. But then we have that phrase beginning in verse 9, the wife of one man. That phrase, wife of one man, is the feminine equivalent of the phrase in Titus 1, husband of one woman. And again, if that phrase here in 1 Timothy 5 meant one man, woman, or married only once, then that would be a deal breaker, because a young woman, we read later in this passage, a young woman who was remarried who had a second husband would be automatically eliminated from the widow's list. But if the phrase is a statement about loyalty, it fits perfectly with the other life qualities given. So verse 14 says, 1 Timothy 5:14, therefore I want younger widows to get married, bear children, keep house. So if the qualification in verse 9, wife of one man, means only married once, then a young widow who was told to remarry could never be on the widow's list, no matter what her life was. It's an indication that it's not so much related to, this phrase is not so much related to marital status, but to quality of life. An elder must be a one-woman man. He must be dedicated solely to his wife if he's married, and if he's not married, indicate through his life that he's a moral purity. Next on the list, he must have children who believe, who are not accused of dissipation or rebellion. On your handout, I should have put no dissipation or disobedience as further defining the children. That's where it truly belongs. Well, you know, I grew up as a preacher's kid. For most of my life, my father was a traveling evangelist. I really never understood the dynamic of this qualification, having preachers, having kids who believe. And it didn't really matter much because we always blamed the deacons' kids when we got in trouble. 1 Timothy states this way in 1 Timothy 3. He must be one who manages his own household well, keeping his children under control with all dignity. If a man does not know how to manage his own household, how will he take care of the church of God? So the emphasis here is on the pastor's ability to discipline and teach his children. He must be faithful. The children must be faithful in their conduct. While the children are at home, they must follow the lead of the father. A pastor with rebellious children causes us to question his ability to lead the church. And I remember growing up with, oh, the pastor's kids, woo! Unfortunately, I was not one of them. That was supposed to be a little joke there. Verse 7 begins with a reminder. Verse 7 in Titus 1 begins with a reminder that the leader is the servant of God. He's a servant of God, a steward. He's God's steward. If any time the pastor loses sight of who his first obligation is toward, and he'll fail to lead as he should. Paul repeats here again in this verse 7 the need for blamelessness, of being above reproach. And then he lists 5 negative characteristics. The things that find next, the 5 things next will certainly demonstrate that the elder is not above reproach. Pastor or elder is not self-willed or overbearing. That's the first term there in 7, the first negative term. This means he will not demand his own way. He will not be a despot or a dictator. I don't know if I've ever met, but I've read about bullying pastors. They're disqualified by this quality. In fact, the Apostle John knew a man like that. His name was Diotrephes. He talks in his 3rd letter, John does, about Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them. That is the church. He does not accept what we say, unjustly accusing us with wicked words, and not satisfied with this, he himself does not receive the brethren either, and he forbids those who desire to do so and puts them out of the church. Sounds like a dictator, doesn't it? He wants to be first, falsely accuses, doesn't accept outside help, and rejects those who disagree. That's a man who is self-willed, is not qualified to be a pastor. Next, he's not quick-tempered. You might know 1 or 2 of these type of men, maybe women. Quick-tempered. Not addicted to wine or given to drunkenness. A person who yields control of his actions to alcohol or drugs should not be trusted to lead others. Not pugnacious, not violent. The Greeks actually widened this term, the meaning of this word, to include not only violence in action, but also violence in speech. The word came to mean one who browbeats his fellow man. It's not pugnacious, not violent. Not fond of sordid gain. We can shorten that next term to greedy. An elder is not greedy. A man who pursues dishonest gain is not a man of faith. A man who plays fast and loose with the church's finances is not qualified to be an elder. A man came to our church in New Hampshire, very skilled in the scriptures, good teacher, stayed at the church a while, wanted to become an elder. But in the process of wanting to become an elder, he tried to turn the hearts of those who were already there against the elder that he had in place beside himself. Eventually, I had a long conversation with him, and I spoke to him and challenged him about that. He left the church. He came back 2 weeks later. And before he left the church, I said, we need to get together so we can talk, don't we? And he never came back. I found out later that he had found another small community next town over, a small community of believers, started a church, became the treasurer, and you know what happened next. And they all followed up. That saved us, our little church, from something much worse than we could have wanted. Financial problems with financial issues that are another major problem with why pastors fail. A few years ago, there was a pastor down in South Carolina, a large church, and he would not divulge his salary and financial records because he said this: it would be the epitome of arrogance if I let people see how much money I give to other people. And then he built himself a $1.6 million mansion. He's not in the pastor anymore. So those are 5 sins that will destroy the reputation of any person, but especially affect the church. The church of Jesus Christ, the church for whom Jesus died, the church that Jesus loved, will be robbed of its testimony by self-obsessed, self-motivated leaders. We turn the corner in verse 8, Titus 1. Here are some positive things to look for. The elder, pastor, overseer must be hospitable. The word means lover of strangers. How many of you have been to Xenia, Ohio? My first memories of life in Xenia, Ohio. It means stranger. Well, I don't need that. This word is philoxenia, lover of strangers. The godly leader will make a habit of inviting people into his home. With good judgment, he will care for strangers. And with good judgment, because you can't trust every stranger you meet, but he'll love them just the same. And sometimes that involves personal sacrifice. There's another love word next. Love what is good. The qualified pastor next is sensible. He knows the value of things, and he will not cheapen them by foolishness. Paul uses this word sensible 11 times in this little book. It must be very important. You may read sober-minded or something to that effect. The pastor, the leader, the elder is not somber and sullen. Doesn't mean he never laughs, but he's serious about the ministry of the church. Next, he's just and upright. In his relationship with others, he is honest and acts in the right fashion. He's devout. His relationship to God, he's holy. He's self-controlled. That attribute finds its way into the fruit of the Spirit. It's the last word in that list in Galatians 5, in Galatians 6. Galatians 5. It means inner mind. This word means inner mind. Self-control. In fact, we're correct in calling it discipline. The pastor, elder, overseer is discipline. So in relationship to God, he's holy, devout. In relationship to others, he's just. In relationship to himself, the pastor is under control. These are the personal qualifications sought in a man who can become an elder. Spiritual life is more important than physical skill. It's the way it always works with God. Verse 9 lists 3 doctrinal qualifications. Holding fast the faithful word which is in accordance with the teaching, so that he will be able both to exhort in sound doctrine and refute those who contradict. So we must hold fast the faithful word. It's a matter of devotion. The Bible is his rock and source of growth and instruction. He's a man of the word. His teaching is based on Scripture. And his life reflects that. Occasionally, when I was a freshman at Washington Bible College, which was 6 blocks from the lighthouse, I would get up late on Sunday morning. We had to go to church every Sunday. Sounds pretty legalistic, doesn't it? Well, the administration didn't make us go while I was going. So anytime sometimes I'd get up late and miss one of the buses that came to take the students to churches in the suburbs, which was a better situation. But there was a very large stone quarry down the street called the National City Christian Church. One Sunday I visited there, and the minister pulled out the latest issue of Time magazine. That was it. Nobody opening the Bible. Nobody thinking too much about spiritual things. Here's the latest item we need to talk about from Time magazine. The pastor of Jesus Church will always bring the Bible to the fore. He will never give up on God's word. It will be the common ground of every ministry in which he's involved. He will not flirt with new doctrines. He will be passionate about spiritual truth. It's his prized possession. He can't get enough of the Bible. Neither can we. As newborn babies, we're to long for the spiritual fruit of the Lord. God's word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path. The Scripture tells us about Christ. The Scriptures are more desirable than gold, yes, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey, and the drippings of the honeycomb. Moreover, by them your servant is warned, and keeping them there is great reward. Is the Bible your delight and desire? The pastor clings to the faithful word. Second doctrinal qualification, not only is he hold fast to the Scripture, he's able to exhort in sound doctrine. He's able to exhort in sound doctrine. Sound means healthy. The pastor's like a doctor delivering spiritual truth as a remedy for our ills. And we all have the same prescription. It's right here. All Scripture is inspired by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness, so that the person of God may be adequately equipped for every good work. Third doctrinal qualification, the pastor is able to refute those who contradict. His source for refutation is the Bible. Answers come from the Word of God. We may use reason and logic when we're talking to people about and helping them try to understand spiritual things. But without the Bible, there's no continuous fruit. There's no salvation. There's more to say about these last three qualifications. I'll pick up them next week, but I want to finish by demonstrating the high priority that preaching has for the pastor. If you'd like to follow, let me go back to 1 Timothy chapter 5 again. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 17. The elders who rule well are to be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who work hard at preaching and teaching. In most churches, there is one pastor who does most of the teaching. No matter how many elders there might be, there's one who does most of the teaching. Paul instructs in this verse that elders who rule well, that means manage, are worthy of double honor, especially those who work hard at preaching and teaching. God places a priority on the preaching and teaching of Scripture. Spiritual qualities are the priority, but the preaching of the Word is the most important duty and privilege of the pastor. We'll come back to Titus chapter 1 next week, and we'll find out why it's so important that the pastor has a knowledge and ability to communicate the Word. Lord, thanks for the truth of Scripture. Thank you for its clarity. Thank you that you have gathered us today. The Bible's in the midst. May you help us now in this meeting that follows, that there would be a great sense of your moving power and the Holy Spirit, that there would be good communication, good discussion as it needs to take place, that you will continue to move this church forward as you will. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's close by singing. Oh, how good it is